there. Today, I'm taking you 3,500 years back in time. At that time, there was a man called Joshua who was a great example for me. His story is really exciting. Maybe you've heard the story of when Moses and the Israelites left Egypt. They started a long journey towards a country that God had promised to give them. And God could talk to Moses so that he knew exactly what to do on the way. The people experienced amazing miracles, like when God opened up the Red Sea for them. But strangely, the Israelites always started to complain and doubt God when things started getting hard. But Joshua was different. Just like Moses, he was always full of faith in God. Joshua quickly became one of the Israelites' most important warriors. He must have learned a lot from Moses. They set up camp before they came to the land of Canaan.
I have chosen you, 12 strong and brave chieftains, to spy out the land of Canaan for 40 days.
Of course, Joshua was one of the spies, and so was his friend, Caleb.
We will find out everything we need to know about the land God has given us.
No one was allowed to know why they were there, and they didn't give away their plans to anyone. The land was way better than they thought. It was green, with lots of farms, and plenty of food. They took lots of fruit, and a bunch of grapes that were so big that 2 men had to carry it between them. It was so fantastic that they said that
It is a land that flows with milk and honey.
But there was one big challenge in the land. One of the nations that lived there, the Anakim, were much bigger and much taller than anyone the spies had ever seen before.
Those people are actually giants.
Yeah, those cities are gonna be really hard to take.
After 40 days, the spies came back to Moses and told what they had seen. Straight away, the people started doubting that God would help them. They didn't think that they would be able to enter the land. The other spies also started to doubt.
No, we can't just attack those people.
Yeah, all the men we saw there were big and strong.
We felt like grasshoppers compared to them. And they probably felt the same.
That only made things worse.
If only we had died in Egypt.
If only we could die here in the wilderness.
Why did God lead us to this land? To fall by the sword and for our wives and children to be taken captive by the enemy?
Imagine suddenly they wanted to go back to Egypt. Joshua, Caleb, and Moses knew that it's a sin to doubt God, and now the people were doing it again. But Joshua and Caleb were thinking differently. They were in a spirit of faith.
Listen, God will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land. They are no more than a piece of bread for us."
The Israelites became so angry that they wanted to kill Joshua and Caleb. Then God had to stop the people himself.
How long will these people reject me? And how long will they not believe me? With all the signs which I have performed among them.
But Moses loved the people of Israel and asked God to forgive them. And because Moses was a faithful man, God decided to listen. God would bring the people into the land, but not without punishment. Because the people of Israel didn't believe, God would let them wander in the wilderness for 40 years before they could enter Canaan. The Israelites should have listened to Joshua and Caleb instead of doubting God. But Joshua held on to his faith and never doubted God's word about the promised land. But we'll hear more about that in the next episode. See ya! Oh, hi there. Today, I'm taking you 3,500 years back in time. Finally, I can tell you the rest of the story about a hero in the Bible called Joshua. He is a huge example for me. As I told you last time, Joshua became the leader of the Israelites. He was supposed to lead them into Canaan, the land that God had promised them. First, they had to walk around in the wilderness for 40 years as a punishment for not believing in God. But Joshua and Caleb believed, and when God said he would give the people a country, then they were sure he would do it. After 40 years, God let them enter Canaan. So, they got ready and took the Ark of the Covenant with them, the chest you see here. This was the holiest and most important thing the Jews possessed. They had been told by God to make it in gold, and on the top of it, they should make a lid with 2 angels. God spoke to the Israelites in between these 2 angels. And there were several other sacred things that should lie inside this chest. And they had to bring this whole chest into Canaan. However, they got stopped by a huge river, the Jordan.
How on earth are we supposed to get the coffin over to the other side?
But Joshua already knew God's plan.
You must just walk straight over.
And the first thing they met was the city of Jericho. It was surrounded by a massive wall. The people who lived there had already heard that the Israelites would come. So Jericho was completely closed. No one came out and no one came in. But the Israelites had to defeat Jericho if they were going to keep going into Canaan. They set up camp and had to figure out how to take the city. A man with a raised sword suddenly stood before Joshua.
Wait! Are you one of us, or do you belong to the enemy? Neither. I am the chief of the Lord's army. I have arrived.
Joshua understood that he was a messenger sent by God.
What does my lord have to say to his servant?" "Take off your shoes, for the place where you stand is holy ground."
Now Joshua listened carefully. God had promised Joshua that the Israelites would take Jericho, but the way he was going to take the city was quite strange. This was not going to be an ordinary conquest of a city. That was for sure. The next morning, Joshua told the people what God had said.
"The priests are to carry the Ark of the Covenant and get ready to walk. 7 priests shall walk in front of the ark and blow their horns. Armed men with weapons will walk at the front, and the rest of the people will follow at the very back. And one more thing, you must not say a word until I give the order."
And so, they walked in complete silence around the city once and went back to the camp. I can imagine many were wondering what Joshua was doing. The next morning, everyone got up early and walked quietly around the city, once, just as before. They did this for 6 days. On the 7th day, they were going to take the city. But before they left, Joshua gave a warning to everyone.
"We will take the city, but no one is to take anything for himself. All treasures are to be given into the treasure store for God."
This day, they went around the city 7 times. And when the horns blew for the 7th time, all the people shouted as loud as they could. Then the miracle happened. The walls of Jericho fell. And the Israelites could walk right into the city. The battle was won because Joshua had led the people exactly as God had told him. He was always obedient to God, and in this way, they continued to take the rest of Canaan. God helped them drive out their enemies, and the Israelites can now live peacefully in their new home. Well, thanks for following along. I'll see you in another episode of Bible Heroes of Faith. See ya!